Hi guys, my name is Sarah and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. I'm so excited today because it's our very first episode of Minimal Monday, and every Monday you'll be able to count on a video related to minimalist content, and today's topic, definitely one that's very near and dear to my heart, is travel, and how to travel more like a minimalist. Today we're going to talk about how we can pack more simply. That will help us save on airline baggage costs, just make our travel a little bit easier and more stress-free, and just so you don't have to feel burdened by the amount of stuff that you're bringing with you as you travel to different domestic or international destinations. Next week we'll talk about how you can simplify your itinerary so you don't feel overwhelmed by the schedule you're trying to do, or so you can maximize the joy and fun for you that you encounter during your trip. Now, my desire to travel more like a minimalist actually happened a lot earlier than the time I considered myself to be a minimalist. A particular story that I have related to this comes from when I traveled to Venice, and this was at the end of my study abroad program with 2 other friends. And we all arrived in Venice with our giant suitcases. It was a very hot day, and because we had flown that day and were very nervous about the weight limit of our bags, we were wearing a lot of clothing, all in pants and maybe even long sleeve shirts, so we definitely weren't really prepared for it. For any of you who have been to Venice before, you'll know that there's a lot of windy streets. It's very easy to get lost, and there are tons of beautiful, picturesque bridges with a few stairs on either side. And without these giant bags, definitely something part of the magic of Venice, I would say. But since we were hauling these giant suitcases and wearing, a lot of our clothing on this very hot day, not knowing where we were going, it was brutal. As I was hauling my giant bag up and down bridge after bridge after bridge, I vowed that I would never travel like that again. And so, hence, because of that, I have been traveling light, and especially in very recent years, I've been traveling even lighter, and definitely appreciate that. My husband and I last summer went to Venice on our honeymoon, and it was very nice to not have to lug those bags. It was very light backpacks that we were carrying rather than these giant suitcases. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the perks of traveling light, why you should do it, why are there benefits, and then I'll give you some techniques on how you can do it yourself. So first let's get to some of the benefits of traveling light. First of all, if you are traveling by air and frequent airports often, you probably know that checking your bag can be a pain. It adds time when you're checking into your flight, there might be long lines. After your flight lands, you have to wait for baggage claim, which might even add a half hour to your trip, and there's always the risk, what if they lose your luggage or it ends up on another flight? But also then the bag fees can be really expensive. Now that does vary by airline. There are some airlines who do provide that for you, but some airlines you're looking at $25 to $50 or more to check a bag. Especially if you fly often, those fees can really add up quickly. And so traveling light is a great way to keep those costs down and make your life easier when you're at the airport. Having a smaller bag and bringing less stuff with you makes it a lot easier to unpack and repack. You don't have as much stuff really to get messy, and you can put those things back together more quickly, especially if you're going to different destinations throughout your trip. Another great benefit of traveling light is that you don't stand out as much in the negative way when you arrive at these destinations. Some destinations are a bit more risky in terms of maybe pickpocketers and people who might be trying to take advantage of tourists. And if you've got a giant suitcase or other obvious signs, lots of luggage that you can't really manage as well, it definitely makes you more likely to be a target than someone who maybe again just has a backpack or even a very small carry-on and just kind of moving through, especially if you don't know where you're going. So that's just a few of the benefits of traveling more like a minimalist. Let's get into some tips though about how we can make this happen, because you might be saying, well, what if this happens, or but I love all these different outfits and I want to look really good while I'm traveling. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some tips for how you can pack more lightly. The first tip with your clothing is to think about mixing and matching what you have. So rather than saying, okay, I'm traveling for 7 days, let me bring 7 outfits and maybe an extra because you never know what's going to happen. Instead of thinking that way, think, okay, what are some of my key pieces of my wardrobe that I want to bring with me? Think about mixing and matching your items, and having a wardrobe that all kind of looks good together gives you the flexibility so you don't have to have that many different pieces. They can all be kind of interchanged, give you flexible outfit combinations that way. adjusting for your itinerary and also the weather. If you're concerned about the room or space available in your bag, one technique to save space is to roll your clothes after you fold them. That's going to make some of your items more compact and allow you to fit a few more items in your bag if you are traveling with a smaller bag than you're used to. I didn't feel like I was really sacrificing anything because I did still have pretty sufficient space using the rolling method. Think about bringing only the essential items that you need. It's easy to throw a lot of just in case items in there. Well, what if this happens, or what if this happens? One great thing is that in most places, you can probably find whatever you need available. Going to find these conveniences that are items that you need by default of other people being there who might also need those things. So that helps you. You don't have to worry about like, well, what if this happens? If that, hypothetical case does happen and you need to buy something there, then you can do that while you're there. One additional thing that I do recommend is inside your larger bag, whether it's a backpack or a small rolling suitcase, to bring a couple smaller bags that can be used for various purposes. If I don't want to bring my big backpack, I can instead bring this smaller bag during my day-to-day activities. So feel free, just because you're bringing this one bag doesn't mean you can't bring smaller bags as needed that are just within that bag. When we're traveling, there might be a lot of electronics you're bringing when you're bringing your phone and camera and laptop. Try to minimize the chargers you can bring. Sometimes you can get chargers that work for multiple pieces of equipment, and that can also help you save space. And I don't know if any of you guys get irritated by cords being all tangled up, but that's one of my pet peeves too. So limiting the chargers that you bring can be helpful. I actually did not do this in the most recent road trip that my husband and I took this past summer. One of my bags was just a mess with cords because I didn't really simplify and think, okay, what cords do I need to bring for this? So that's definitely another tip. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like or hit the subscribe button below if you'd like to stay notified when I post new videos. Let me know in the comments below if there's any packing tips that I missed or things that you find really helpful when you're traveling. And I look forward to seeing you on Friday for our first episode of Food Friday. Bye guys!